Sex Talk with Erika Miley. 'Cause sexuality is tough. And okay, sex just isn't good enough. No. Sex Talk with Erika Miley.
Hey folks, welcome to Sex Talk with Erika Miley. Erika Miley here. Hello. Glad to be with you all today. We're going to do a deep dive. I just can't even help myself with the sexual puns. We're going to do a deep dive on cleaning sex toys. We'll probably I'm going to do a separate episode on its own of sex toys, but this was actually a listener request. How to clean sex toys, how to clean them to avoid any kind of bacterial infections. And so we're going to chat about it. We're going to chat about, and I'm going to make sure that everything, the articles that I'm referencing today are going to be in the show notes for sure, because one of them in particular, and I'm going to do a shout out on this one because I just think this article is amazing. And the blogger who created it is named Robin. I don't know Robin's last name, but I will make sure that it's all here. But it is from a site called Lovense, LOVENSE.com. And this article is amazing because they go through every piece of the type of chemicals that are in toy cleaners and how to determine if a toy cleaner is body safe. And so since this blogger did such a beautiful job, I'm going to try to find this person and bring them on the show, one, but two, I'm going to make sure that this is in the show notes because I think this article is worth the read. It is a long read, but it is worth the read because it goes through each piece of the ingredients and the main functions of these ingredients, and then how to tell on a ingredients list if it is body safe. So awesome work by Robin, the blogger. I will find you and give you a better shout out than this because I'm a big fan of this article. So I do want to give you an overview of how to clean your sex toys because this is incredibly important and incredibly important for your physical health. So the first step number 1 of cleaning any sex toy is figuring out what it's made of. Is it made of a porous or non-porous material? So that's step 1. What is this toy made of? And is it made of porous or non-porous material? I'm going to talk a little bit about each kind of type so that you kind of get an idea. I'm also going to reference an article from Self that has a much more detailed evaluation so that you can take a look at it for yourself and take a look at the materials that you have in your home and decide, okay, how do I want to clean what I have? So first, the rubber varieties, or it might be called elastomer, thermoplastic rubber, or TPR for short. It's sometimes called skin-safe rubber. There's also jelly rubber, which it can have different group of chemicals that potentially could affect human health. The jury is kind of out still on this jelly rubber. There's also materials like Sensiferm and UR3 that these are toys that can feel like skin. And latex, which is not, by the way, regulated by the Food and Drug Administration in sex toys the way that it is regulated in condoms. So this is a good thing to keep in mind, especially those of you in the world that have latex allergies. So those are the common porous materials that are often in sex toys. Here are the common non-porous sex toy materials. I'm going to butcher this name, but it's ABS is the initials of this. So it's acrylonitrile and butadiene, I think. I'm not sure. But ABS, it's a type of hard plastic. And you may have seen these. Sometimes they're straight and they don't have any bends to them. Sometimes they vibrate. They come in lots of different kinds of colors, but they're usually a hard plastic. This is a non-porous sex toy. The borosilicate glass, as in Pyrex and similar varieties, also non-porous. Soda lime glass, kind of like the glass that is used for any kind of glasses that you have in your cupboard for drinking. Silicone and metals like stainless steel and gold. So those are the non-porous sex toy materials. So there's a lot of things at play here for you to be able to clean these toys properly. So no matter what your sex toy material, so this is step 2, you absolutely need to be washing and drying it after every use so that it's as clean as possible. Many toys that are porous are very likely to hold bacteria or any kind of microorganisms than a non-porous one. So if you have a toy that has like that jelly, the kind of rubber jelly we were talking about a second ago, and then you have maybe something made out of glass, you're just much less likely to have those microorganisms with a non-porous material. It doesn't mean that you should never use a non-porous material. It just means that the risk is higher to have bacteria in the porous material. So, yes, absolutely, this is a buzzkill. And I want you to be able to have a lot of pleasure from using your sex toys and then be able to use them again and again so that and not expose yourself to any kind of bacteria or microorganism that you were not prepared for. So, step 2 again, regardless of your toy's material, wash and dry after every use and do your best to keep it as clean as you possibly can. So, number 3, you might also want to wash your toy even before you use it. So think about it this way. Oftentimes people will store their sex toys somewhere secret, or they'll store them in a drawer that's by their bedside table, or they'll even store it, maybe even a box in the closet somewhere. We store our sex toys in various places, and here's the reality. There's dirt, dust, and lint anywhere we're going to store them. So being sure that you don't want to expose whatever type of genitalia you have to the environmental stuff that just ends up on all of our stuff inevitably. So you might want to wash your toy before you use it as well. I know that this is, many of us think like, oh, I just want to masturbate. It's going to take me 2 minutes. I don't even want to think about cleaning it. Here's the reality. 2 seconds of cleaning, or at least using like a toy cleaner, can really save you a lot of headache down the road. Number 3, this is how you clean all of your sex toys after you use them. That's this big next part. I'm going to go through each type, and then we're going to talk about how to clean them, each type of these toys. So, is your toy that elastomer or latex? These are the porous materials. Again, more sensitive to bacteria, more sensitive to temperature, and being stored in light or dark places. Because toys can change, especially if you leave 2 toys next to one another. They can actually have a reaction to one another if they're made of 2 different materials, like a porous and a non-porous material. So again, back to latex and elastomer. They are more sensitive to temperature than non-porous toys. They might get warped if they're exposed to too much heat generally. And if your toy vibrates, wipe it down with a warm, damp, soapy washcloth. If it doesn't vibrate or vibrates but is waterproof, run that toy under warm water and clean it with a soapy washcloth. So, really just pay attention to what the toy material is and then make a decision on how you want to store it and how you clean it. If your toy is elastomer and made of like that skin-like blend we had talked about, you would do the same thing for that as we just talked about for the elastomer or latex, but don't expose it to too much soap. This can damage the material. It can change the color of the material, and so it doesn't look as much like skin, or it can also change the texture of it as well. Is the toy that ABS plastic? Those words that I could not pronounce. It's very similar to the elastomer and latex. You can wipe it down with a damp cloth and mild soap if it vibrates, or wash it with water and mild soap if it doesn't, or if it vibrates but happens to be waterproof. So, again, the material matters here. What the toy is made of, how you store it, and how you clean it are impacted by that. Is the toy that soda lime glass? This is that glass that is that non-porous type, but it can be sensitive to temperature, which is part of why it's so much fun, right? It can be really cold or it can be really warm, and it can be extra fun to play with because of those things. So wash that soda lime glass toy the same way you'd wash a latex or elastomer toy. With that washcloth, damp, soapy, and you'll be just fine. Is the toy that borosilicate glass, silicone, or metal? You can clean these toys using mild soap and warm water or damp, soapy washcloth like many of the toys we've already discussed. And the great thing is if they don't vibrate, you can boil these toys for 3 to 4 minutes to absolutely kill any bacteria or microorganism that might be present. You must be careful about the type of metal. So if it is gold, there might be other metals present. So anything that might be gold plated or any kind of gold material, I would suggest using that washcloth because you don't necessarily want those metals to react to one another if you're boiling them for 3 to 4 minutes. So again, be sure using that soapy washcloth and a mild soap can be really helpful. Sometimes people say you can put these types of toys in a dishwasher. I usually caution people against that only because your dishwasher more than likely hasn't been cleaned in a while. And there could be leftover residue behind. And sometimes we put in the dishwasher, we will put harsher soaps into a dishwasher that might leave a residue behind that it may not be genital friendly. So I know some people do put things in the dishwasher, but I always caution people to evaluate, one, how clean your dishwasher is, and will the soap that you're using leave any kind of residue that would cause you any kind of harm. My sensitive skin folks might struggle with some of those higher types of soap or fragrance soap. So I encourage people to use a soap that they can actually tolerate. Quick break from the action, folks. Action. I just want to tell you about my Patreon. Every week, I bring you guests and seriously, lots of sex nerdery. Help me keep doing that by becoming a supporter. What do you get in return? Cool perks. For real. I am going to be doing shout outs, stickers, a bunch of stuff. So check it out at erikamiley.com/Patreon. That's erikamiley.com/Patreon. I hope to see you and see more of you by becoming a Patreon. Thanks, guys. So, here's the thing. If you are feeling like, I just want to masturbate, I have 3 or 4 minutes to myself. I don't have a lot of time. There's a couple options here. There are body-safe toy cleaners, for sure. Absolutely, there are body-safe toy cleaners. And again, I'm going to link to that other article that shows you the different types of toy cleaner ingredients and how they can impact your body. And so which brands to consider that might be helpful for you. The other option here, and people will often forget this one, and I'm sorry to those who may be latex allergic, but using condoms is an excellent option if you don't have a lot of time and you don't want to clean the toy. So using a condom, placing the condom over the toy, using it quickly, disposing of the condom, that is an absolute very, very quick way when you're not feeling like getting up and really cleaning your toy that you can protect yourself from any kind of bacteria or things like that. And of course, there are condoms that are made without latex. So options for everyone available, of course. So the very last thing I want to say about this in particular is that it does matter, and I've already kind of referenced it, it does matter how you store your sex toys. Based on the kinds of materials that they have in them, you may not want to expose them to higher temperatures or expose them to certain kinds of dust. Or, I mean, think about how many of us have pets and that dander gets into the air. I know I'm freaking all of you out with that, but it is definitely something to consider. So many people who like invest money in their sex toys store them in like a silk bag in whatever drawer or box they keep them in. So it gives you kind of that extra protection from dust, dander, any other kind of bacteria, or from your toys having reactions to one another when they're sitting next to each other. I've actually had this happen. This was a long time ago, I stored 2 toys. I had thought I had divided them with clean washcloths to divide them up. And I thought I had moved 2 toys far enough away from one another. And they weren't. They were touching. And then the next time I went to use the toy, the other toy had essentially kind of started to melt. So these toys can react to one another, and it is important how you store them and how you clean them. Again, all of this is in the show notes. I'm going to make sure that you have these detailed links because it's really, really great to revisit them. I know sometimes when you're listening to a podcast, you're not necessarily in the best space to clean your sex toys. So everything will be listed there. And if you do have questions, I am happy to answer them, especially in my Patreon. I will be doing a bi-weekly Q&A. So please jump in and donate and help the podcast out. It allows me to spend more time in giving you a carefully curated, information-packed podcast. And I would love to answer your questions directly in the Patreon. So check out, just go in there and search Erika Miley, and I'll come right up and subscribe. And I would love to have you. So thank you for sticking around this week, folks. I hope you have a pleasant week. And again, any questions that come up after you hear this episode, this is a very information-packed episode. Feel free to contact me. I'm on all the socials. And have a wonderful week. Thanks for listening, folks. Please rate and review on iTunes. That helps this podcast get found. If you leave a 5-star review, let me know about it on any social media, and I'll shout you out on the podcast. You can find my website at erikamiley.com. You can find me on Facebook, the Gram, and Twitter. See y'all next time.